Hello, I'm Richard Vobes, the Bald Explorer, and I'm on the second part of my walk from up on Devil's Dyke down to Kingston in my quest for England and my search for Sussex. And as you know, I'm following in the footsteps of Arthur Stanley Cooke, his book Off the Beaten Track. And I've arrived now at a place called Mile Oak, which is, I'm guessing it's about a mile north of Port Slade. I don't know if that's where it gets its name from. It's thought that there was an oak tree, Mile Oak, although nobody actually seems to know where that is. However, on the OS maps of 100 years ago, following in Arthur's footsteps, he would have come this way, and he mentions the barn, and this is Mile Oak Barn, although it's now got asbestos roof on that, which probably came in the 50s. And in a minute we'll go past the waterworks that he mentions and to cottages. There's a farm there now, but I believe the cottages are actually listed buildings, so they're still there. So what does he say in his book? Because he makes an interesting observation, which hopefully we'll be able to see, but he's not very good at giving directions in there. He's very much more interested in the destination and the churches. So in here he says, look back and you'll see two fine hollows that lie to the north. It's the drainage of this immense area that the pumps intercept at the pumping station. I know I hadn't really been walking terribly long, but I thought I'd have a sit down, take advantage of the chair. It's incredibly busy this morning with cars coming and going, people walking and all that sort of stuff, which is great to see. There are many of them accessing the downs. Now, I'm just sitting next to two of the cottages, Mile Oak cottages, I believe they're called, and they're marked on the OS map for 100 years ago. Next to them is the waterworks that Arthur Stanley Cooke mentions. Although when you look on the OS maps of 100 years ago, there's nothing there at all. So they're obviously put onto the map a bit later on. The buildings which are listed were built for the waterworks, which is quite interesting. When the waterworks came in, I think one of the facts was that the corporation who put them in said this area was not going to be built on because they wanted to keep the integrity and purification of the water. Well, as you'll see, the A27 comes running through. We're going to go under the bridge in a second, and then since the 1930s, huge swathes of houses and conurbation has taken over. Presumably they process the water now very differently. The other great thing is, and it's not marked on the map, is the farm, Mile Oak Farm. And I've been here and I've actually made a video for them some time ago actually, when they had an open day. But it's great to see the farm now, especially at the time of filming when we've got the coronavirus, that the farm shop is nice and open and it's very busy. Of course, I'm a fool, aren't I? I said earlier that you'll see me go underneath the tunnel on the A27. Of course, the A27 wasn't there 100 years ago. Arthur would not have seen that. And actually, if we look, and if I pay attention to the map, of course, he clambers up on the Sussex border path past the farm and carries on over this hill, which takes us down into Southwick, into Kingston Lane, which then leads into Kingston. So yeah, I was an idiot. Somewhere here, in fact just slightly further back, I've crossed over the A27 now. There's a tunnel. I'm going in the right direction, and of course none of that, the noise of the roar of the traffic, would be there either. So this is Southwick Hill. This is where he went. But if we look through that gap there, we can see the 1930s infill of conurbation. Of course, that wasn't there in the 1900s when he was doing his walk. Well, you get a great view from up here. This is looking south, and in front of me, of course, is a crop field. Probably still in Arthur's time, this was grazed land, not tillage. And beyond, we've got the conurbation of Shoreham, Southwick, and Kingston in there somewhere. We've got the power station. We've got the harbour. That would have been there, of course, but beyond the harbour, the wind farm, that's very new to us, and of course all the pylons and what have you. But he rests here in the book and he mentions the view on the top here and what he can see, and then there's a path down to my right which will take us down. Now, behind us somewhere there's a little dew pond. I'm going to have a look and see if I can find that. But further down there's a rest and sit down stone, I think. It says it on the OS maps of 100 years ago. It's still on the current map. So presumably there's a stone, a sarsen stone. I don't know, I've not been there yet. So we'll have a look and see if we can find that. The other startling thing, of course, is the oilseed rape behind me. Fields of that. I don't think they had those 100 years ago. It's quite a vibrant colour. Well, it's in there. The dew pond is in there. I can't get to it. It's clearly marked on the map. Here's the track that I'm on, but unfortunately you can't get to it. You can't see it. Trees have grown up all around it, and I think there's a fence in the way. So, not to worry. Arthur doesn't mention it, so I just thought it'd be nice to see. Right, let's see if we can find the sit down and relax stone, because now I do need a sit down. Southwick is down this lane, but before we get to that, I've managed to find the sit down and rest stone, and that sounds to me like a jolly good idea. Well, here it is. Great slab of what looks like sarsen stone, and probably left over from, I don't know, the time when the ice caps were melting or something, who knows, but here it is. Arthur doesn't mention the stone, which I find it actually a bit strange, but then actually, I suppose when I think about it, he doesn't mention so many things. He's much more interested in the final destination, and I'm more interested in the journey. This has clearly been here for eons, and I'm sure because it's been well worn and there's a path to it and it's on the OS map, people sit down and relax, and you get a terrific view of the South Downs behind. So that's that. However, Arthur carries on to Southwick, gets onto Kingston Lane and heads towards St Michael's and All of the Angels. For in his book he has a picture which I want to try and replicate, but that's going to be in the next episode. So this is where I'm finishing the journey for today, but do pick me up next time. If you've enjoyed the video, don't forget to follow, like and subscribe, all the usual things. Give me a thumbs up, and if you fancy becoming a patron, that always helps. But I'll see you on the next one. Meanwhile, I think I'll have a little bit of a read. I'll sit down and I'll relax. Goodbye.